Hello everyone and welcome to another Marvelous video. In Marvel Comics, one Hulk is just not enough. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has already introduced She-Hulk, and will soon be introducing Hulk's greatest rival from the comics, the Red Hulk. Did you know that in the comics, there's a female version of the Red Hulk as well? She is known as the Red She-Hulk, and it was none other than the daughter of General Ross, Betty. At one point, she was deeply in love with Bruce, but later, owing to the uncontrollable situation, she too became a result of gamma rays being fused to human DNA. However, if we look at the life story of Betty, it's been extremely difficult being the daughter of General Ross and also to be in love with Bruce Banner. The relentless trauma at some point was utilized by villains to transform her into a feral, Hulk-like monster known as Harpy for the sole purpose of killing the Hulk. So without any further delay, let us dive into today's video, where we will be exploring this alternate personality of Betty Ross integrated into the vicious Harpy and how she became a formidable opponent for the Hulk. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The Troubled Life of Betty Ross. The character of Betty Ross was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and introduced in 1962's Incredible Hulk issue 1. She was born to Karen Lee and Thaddeus Ross, who was the then Air Force General of the United States of America. Her first loss was the death of her mother, Karen. The kind of life Thaddeus lived had no place for childcare, and hence, Betty was shifted to boarding school. After completing school, when she returned to Thaddeus, her life was completely dominated by him. Thaddeus eventually becomes the officer in charge of the top-secret Gamma Bomb project held at the desert base in New Mexico. As Betty went to visit the base with her father, she met the bomb's creator, Dr. Robert Bruce Banner. The quiet, slender, and nerdy physicist got the likes of Betty, unlike Thaddeus, who considered him as physically and emotionally weak. Bruce and Betty eventually began falling in love, and it was intensely hated by Thaddeus. We all know how the experiment went haywire and exposed Bruce to such intense levels of gamma radiation that his DNA underwent changes, thereby making him the monstrous Hulk. However, Bruce did manage to hide his identity from everyone. Meanwhile, Tyrannus, a long-lived Grecian ruler of the underground domain of Subterranea, emerged and sought to invade the surface world. He kidnaps Betty and even makes Thaddeus comply with his terms before Hulk personally rescues Betty. Eventually, Thaddeus and his security chief, Major Glenn Talbot, began suspecting that Bruce was the Hulk. While Betty knew it and loved him deeply, Thaddeus had to expect the two of them and reluctantly agreed to their wedding of his daughter with Bruce. Things were going right for Betty, but unfortunately, on the day of the wedding, the Hulk's arch-enemy, the Leader, arrived on the wedding day and fired radiation that transformed Bruce into the Hulk. The radiation affected him badly, turning him savage. He destroyed everything around him and left. Betty's wedding with Bruce was interrupted, but she still loved him deep, until she learned about Bruce's new love, a queen from the subatomic world of Kai named Jarella. Believing that she had lost Bruce, Betty finally gave her heart to Glenn, whom she secretly loved for a very long time, and the two eventually married. Just when life was looking better for Betty, Thaddeus, in his relentless pursuit of the Hulk, was captured by the Soviet scientist known as the Gremlin and sent to a Soviet prison. Soon, Glenn joined the mission to rescue his general, and although the mission was successful, he ended up being captured. The Americans were unaware of it, and the news went around stating that Glenn was killed during the mission. When Betty heard about it, she could no longer bear the turmoil and suffered a severe mental breakdown. How did Betty Ross become the vicious Harpy? To understand Betty's transformation into the Harpy, we need to go through the pages of 1973's Incredible Hulk issue 168, written by Steve Englehart. So, Betty's deteriorating mental condition was noticed by the leader of AIM, MODOK, previously, and he planned on capitalizing it into something evil. The issue begins with MODOK's battle with the Hulk, who is out of the residence of Glenn and Betty Talbot. The authorities have arrived to stop Hulk, who was then in search of Betty. As Hulk entered the house and went to her room, he found Betty's clothes and a deranged Betty, who was wandering off her property naked. She was already under MODOK's mental control, but when the authorities saw the Hulk, they assumed he was causing her strange behavior. They called for her as Mrs. Talbot, which further freaked Hulk out, as he wasn't aware of her getting married. But amidst the chaos, Hulk found Jim Wilson waiting for him in a truck, wanting to help him escape. Jim brought him to his girlfriend's house, who was rather unhappy about it. As the couple got into an argument about letting the Hulk stay at their place, Hulk walked away before Jim could stop him. Meanwhile, Betty wandered through the woods alone, following a voice in her mind. It finally led her to a giant rocket, which immediately took off and brought her to the AIM headquarters. MODOK placed Betty on a gamma ray machine, and in moments, it transformed her into the Harpy, a Hulk-like creature with giant wings and razor-sharp talons. Additionally, the Harpy could fire rays of gamma radiation from her hand as well. Harpy versus the Hulk. It was evident that MODOK's sole purpose in creating Harpy was to eliminate the Hulk. He tuned Harpy's mind and filled it with rage and hatred towards the Hulk. So, as Harpy emerged from her cell, she demanded to know where the Hulk was, and MODOK took his ship to Manhattan and unleashed her towards the Hulk. Hulk was then wandering around the city aimlessly when Harpy arrived and attacked him, striking him with her claws and then blasting her gamma beams at him. Harpy next grabbed Hulk and, after carrying to a great height, dropped him. However, Hulk easily endured the fall, and as Harpy came close, he slammed her with a metal pipe and got the best of her. He grabbed her, and after dropping her on the ground as he was about to punch her, Harpy revealed her true identity to be Betty. Hulk stopped and was perplexed about the fact that it was Betty attacking him. However, it was all a trick, and Harpy blasted her gamma beams at him again, which did some significant damage to Hulk. She got up and stood over the Hulk, stating that it was going to be the end of him. The fight was televised, and the general, upon noticing it, quickly arrived at the scene. He realized that it was his daughter, Betty. But before he could do much, Harpy flew off carrying Hulk's unconscious body. Soon, there were fighter jets chasing Harpy. They fired missiles, but it was all futile as Harpy dodged them easily and blasted them with gamma rays. However, before Harpy could reach her destination, there was a massive tornado that swept both Harpy and Hulk into a giant cloud of mass. The two were taken into a strange city existing within the clouds, and as the Hulk got back to his senses, they both were greeted by a giant two-headed creature calling itself the Bi-Beast. As the Bi-Beast grabbed Harpy to see her closely, Hulk attacked to save her. Harpy got free, and they both made futile attempts to take the creature down, who easily overpowered them. While a powerful hit from the Bi-Beast rendered Harpy unconscious, the lack of oxygen made Hulk revert back to Bruce Banner. So the Bi-Beast calmed after hearing from Bruce Banner that he's a scientist and introduced himself as the last survivor of the bird people race, who, lived peacefully in the hidden city between the clouds. However, their machines have been breaking down, and he asked Bruce to extend his help to repair them. Bi-Beast also explained that the reason why he captured Harpy was because she resembled their race. Bruce accepted to help him in exchange for no harm in Harpy. He also planned on making a device that he could use to transform Harpy back into Betty. So, meanwhile, MODOK has been searching for Harpy, and he arrived at the secret Cloud City following Harpy's gamma radiation signature. MODOK learned everything from the Bi-Beast and tricked him into believing that Bruce was evil and would use his technology to destroy them all if not stop. As Bi-Beast arrived to stop from activating the machine to transform back Harpy, Bruce, in the crisis, transformed into Hulk and began fighting the creature. MODOK joined the fight and stated that he would claim the Cloud City for AIM. He shot a gamma ray and made Hulk revert back to Bruce. Soon, Bi-Beast realized about the betrayal and switched the city to self-destruct. Bruce freed Harpy and tried to escape from the island before destruction. But Harpy was still hesitant in following Bruce before a crumbling building fell on her, and she transformed back into Betty. Luckily, before the city could explode, the ground underneath cracked, and they fell off. In midair, Bruce once again transformed into the Hulk and saved Betty from the demise. Following this, Betty realized that she still loved Bruce, and she divorced Glenn after he returned. Red Harpy, the turmoil of Betty after she became the Red She-Hulk. As mentioned earlier, Betty's life was never easy. There was enough turmoil throughout her life which drained her emotionally. At some point, the intelligentsia used Samson's cathexis ray and cosmic radiation to turn Betty into the Red She-Hulk. and further events brought back Harpy within the Red She-Hulk, making her the Red Harpy. The events that led to her transformation began in 2016's Fallen Issue 1, which was a part of the second Superhuman Civil War event. Bruce was dead in an assisted suicide at the hands of Hawkeye while General Ross was in prison. The news shocked Betty, and she visited her father in prison to seek help in avenging Bruce, but the attempt was futile as General Ross declined his support. However, Bruce was not dead, and it was revealed in Immortal Hulk Volume 1, Issue 14, released in March 2019. Although Betty wanted to slap Bruce, the two kissed it out and reconciled. However, Shadow Base Agent Bushwhacker was after Bruce, and in an attempt to kill him, he shot Betty. As the name of the issue suggests, Bruce had discovered the immortality of the Gamma mutates, and it was the same with Betty. So Betty returned to life, but not as the Red She-Hulk, but as a new red form of her Harpy personality, which can be called the Red Harpy. It was a manifestation of the resentment she had for the world and Bruce. So while Hulk was dealing with Bushwhacker, Red Harpy escaped and resurfaced days later. Although Red Harpy remained scorned at Bruce, she did cooperate with him and helped him fight a mutated Rick Jones, controlled by Shadow Base. As Harpy, Betty helped Hulk fight off monsters sent by Roxxon in retaliation to a war declared on the company by Hulk for, destroying the ecosystem. At some point, Red Harpy was selected by Doctor Strange to become a member of a new team of defenders. They were tasked with the mission of helping Masked Raider hunting down Carlo Zoda. Ross, though hesitant, eventually agreed to participate in the journey, which saw the defenders repeatedly pulled into different, earlier versions of the universe. The adventure took a strange turn when they arrived at the Fifth Cosmos, a dimension steeped in a primordial magic. There, they faced the sinister and powerful wizard Moridun, an ancient and eldritch being. The battle against Moridun was fierce, and Doctor Strange, realizing the danger they faced, channeled his mystical energy into Harpy. This allowed her to access the Green Door, a mysterious and powerful gateway that ultimately enabled them to defeat the ancient sorcerer and escape the realm. The Defenders' final and perhaps most daunting stop was the Third Cosmos, a place where the primordial forces of existence and nothingness clashed in an eternal struggle. Here, they witnessed the monumental battle between Lifebringer 1, the embodiment of creation and life, and the Anti-All, the force of destruction and void. The stakes were higher than ever, with reality itself hanging in the balance. At a crucial moment, Carlo Zoda, in a shocking twist, killed the Masked Raider, only to discover that Raider was actually his future self. Overcome by this revelation, Zoda chose to help the Defenders in their fight against the Anti-All. As the battle raged on, the Defenders channeled their energy and strength into empowering Lifebringer 1, ensuring that creation would triumph over destruction. In the end, their efforts paid off, and Lifebringer 1 emerged victorious, saving existence from annihilation. With their mission complete and reality secured, the Defenders were returned to their proper place in time, bringing their tumultuous journey through the cosmos to a close. Marvelous verdict. So we have finally come to the end of the video, and we hope you liked our content. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is slowly taking a dig into more Gamma mutates, and there's no measure of excitement if characters like Red Hulk, Red She-Hulk, or, Harpy are shown on screen. In the pages of the comics, Harpy appears vicious, and her red version is a notch ahead. Let us know your thoughts on the character in the comments, and share how you'd like to see them introduced in the MCU. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next Marvelous video.